Okay, so thank you guys for joining us for our creative conversations. And I am here with Brian Williams and Matthew Walter, and they are part of ACJC. Brian is our outgoing board president for 2020, but he still has a year on our board, which is awesome. And then Matthew is one of our longtime donors and supporters. And we're just going to be talking about your guys' involvement with the Arts Council, and then your backgrounds and how you guys fit into the arts and what you guys do. So my first question to both of you, if you want to take turns answering or whatever, is what is your professional and or creative background, and how did it lead you to get involved with the Arts Council?
Well, I'll let Brian start because he's the one who got me involved.
Perfect.
So my background, I have a bachelor's and a master's in theater. So I thought I was going to go and make a living as an actor, and money and art never came together for me. So currently I'm in the nonprofit sector. I'm an executive director for Hillcrest Hope. But my theater background still in my mind, and all of the training still today is very relevant in the work that I do. How I got connected to the Arts Council, I was connected to David Oliver, who many people know, and he and I just got to talking, and he's been super helpful and a good friend. And he's the one who connected me to Sarah. We had a conversation, and then I ended up signing up for the advisory board, and that's how I got connected.
Awesome.
And I became a juror for the Shooting Stars one year. Brian had submitted my name unknowingly to Sarah, and she reached out and we had a conversation as well. And my background actually is in architecture. I had been involved heavily in the theater when I was in my junior high and high school years, but the programs were never supported in a way that I realized, or that I knew that theater and design could be, connected. And so I went on a path of architecture because I liked the designing and the building aspect of things. And I didn't realize until many years, almost 2 decades later, having, connected with Brian and watched his professional career as an actor, and going to the theater and seeing that design is a part of theater. So I reconnected to my past using my present sort of design, and went back to school. In fact, we both went to the same graduate school, and became a theater professional, and have been practicing that since around 2004. So it was a natural progression for me to become a juror for the Shooting Stars.
Yeah. So when you were a juror for Shooting Stars, did you do production and design category?
Yes, and that's what excited me about it, was the fact that this was the first time I had encountered a sort of high school competition that theater wasn't just about the actor. This was the first time that the designer was celebrated, and it was a pretty amazing experience, my first go around. So I think I've been a juror 3 times now, and every time has been exciting to go and see the students and the work that is done in the school districts here in Johnson County. I think there's a terrific emphasis, and I think the school should be commended for, connecting this idea of design and, a profession in theater, to reward students for that sort of endeavor. So.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And this is my first year of like going through the full Shooting Stars shebang because I started in March, and so I started working for the Arts Council at the very tail end of last year's Shooting Stars, and just even seeing the students' resumes and everything, they're amazing, and they do a lot of stuff, and they are in the community, and they're doing stuff with their school, and it's really great that they are still doing things even though COVID is happening. And so,
Yeah, that's terrific to hear. That's terrific to hear for sure.
yeah,
So.
it's really great. So second question, which you both can answer if you want. Can you share, besides Shooting Stars judging, I guess, is some of your volunteer experiences with the Arts Council?
Yeah, I mean, most of mine has been serving on the board, but I also, Sarah called me in, I think once or twice, and I think it was before you got there. It was in the interim period. I had some free time, and so Sarah had called me in to. I was looking at, I forget, it was regarding Shooting Stars, but it was sort of office work, and I remember looking at, the artwork online that people were submitting. I know you said not Shooting Stars, but I can't help but to talk about Shooting Stars. I mean, I mean, I was truly impressed with the artwork I saw, and it was just mind blowing. I'm thinking these are seniors in high school and they're this talented. It was very impressive. So, office work, administrative work for Sarah. And then, like I said, mostly serving on the advisory board and the governing board has been really my volunteer experience.
Yeah, great.
I've been lucky enough to help clean up and put chairs away. That unfortunately has been my level of volunteer outside of Shooting Stars. But I know that that you guys are always in need of that, so I should be better at that, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, well, I wish we could do in-person events, but unfortunately not. So no.
I don't mind stacking chairs. So.
Awesome. I think this one's mostly directed at Matthew, but you guys are monthly donors. So my question is, why do you feel that it's important to engage with the Arts Council financially on a monthly basis?
Well, I started out as a sort of annual giver. I would do that traditional end of year appeal check writing, and I always felt one that it seemed self-serving in some respects, because it's one of those things you do at the last minute and you do at the end of the year. It makes you feel good. And so when this opportunity to actually do monthly giving came around, Brian and I sat down over dinner one night, and I said, what would be super helpful, in a monthly capacity? And, I don't know if this actually is true, but in my head, this is what happened. We decided that, it costs a lot for you to mail donors information. And so I said, well, that could be what I do. So I felt that it gave me a purpose and a very specific, amount every month that I knew you guys could buy stamps and that you could communicate, through the post office to all of your donors. So that was what drove me to be sort of a monthly giver. Unknown to me, this year, I don't know if you can see it, but I got in the mail my monthly donor pin, my lapel pin. So that is a big bonus as well. So I'm very pleased for that. So thank you. I appreciate that. But I think that's the opportunity, is that you don't really know where that end of year check goes. I know it goes to help, and we all know that it goes to help. But if you can in your head figure out a way to sort of give yourself a reason to give monthly, whether it's your coffee consumption that you guys need, whether it's photocopy paper. It was it's about the same amount that I would give annually, but it just makes me feel like I'm supporting you in a much more direct way. So,
well, and I'll add really quickly to that. I mean, being in the nonprofit sector for quite a while, I mean, any nonprofit can benefit from monthly support because it's a sustainable, reliable, steady income that you can count on typically when it gets started. And so, I think that is important as well for people to know that nonprofits, if you can give monthly, that is a great way to make a donation instead of at the year's end. So whether it's $10, $20, $150, it helps with the budgeting process, kind of anticipating what to plan for in the year ahead. So I'm very happy to see that we are increasing our visibility around monthly giving and rewarding folks with a beautiful lapel pin that Matthew.
It's gorgeous. It really is. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and it also helps really raise the visibility of the organization, which I know is important and stuff that we are working on. You and Sarah are working on right now.
Yeah, and the lapel pen was a competition. We put out a call for artists, and we had quite a few submissions. I don't remember how many exactly, but it was a lot of submissions for designs, and then we ended up choosing that one. And that was designed by Christina Smith. And it was just like the perfect encapsulating design for the Arts Council. So it's really cool that our donors now get to wear those.
Yeah, and I've had, I've worn it around, and I've had people go, "Oh, Art Council,"
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that if you are, if you do have that swag, that sort of increases, the conversation around the community. So, I appreciate being a sort of advocate for the Arts Council for sure.
Yeah, thank you also for being an advocate for. So what else? Kind of going on that, being an advocate, not just for the Arts Council, but why do you guys feel that the arts are essential to our community?
You said we only had an hour, right?
Yeah, right. Summarize.
Go first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the arts, because I'm an architect, I deal with them every day. I deal with the designed environment. I mean, the spaces that we use. We go to restaurants and they're designed. We go, on the highway and it's designed. We go sit in the theater. We used to, we will one day again sit in the theater, and we see design. And so this idea that arts is somehow not important to society has gone a little awry. The fact that we consider STEM more important than STEAM. Why did the arts get taken out of what we consider important in education? Because for me, my education and arts have always been tied together. I had an amazing second grade teacher who, those little noodle paintings that you do with macaroni.
Yeah.
Well, everybody else wanted to glue the macaroni down to the paper, but I wanted to take those pieces of macaroni and stand them on top of each other. And she let me do it. So it's one of those things that connection of education and arts is extremely important. And as we grow older, this idea that we somehow are disconnected from arts, that the only thing, arts is going to see a museum or going to see a play or going, to a concert. I think is completely wrong, because it does infiltrate every aspect of one's life. So I'm proud that the arts in Johnson County are being highlighted in such a way that the student whom, doesn't get, say, the same recognition, the actors, they get all the accolades and applause, but we never really sort of applause, or sort of commend the designers or the technicians. And so for me, your Shooting Stars program, gives me that sort of drive to want those students to become more than just what they did in high school. You can actually have a career in theater, and I'm living proof of that. So that's my synopsis. That's my short answer.
That was awesome. Perfect.
I guess for me, to make it a little more personal for me as well, it's, I know growing up in a small town in Midwest Kansas, I was sort of an oddball, an outcast, didn't have many friends, but my outlet was writing, or it was once I discovered forensics and theater, I felt like I wasn't so much of an outlet anymore, because now I found a few more crazy oddballs like myself that, that I could relate to and who could relate to me. So for me, it's personally, I don't know what I would be doing or where I'd be without the arts at that point in my life. And then, it's just the power of a piece of music. It helps me depending on my mood. If I'm, for example, grant writing, I will play some classical music. If I'm driving somewhere, I may play, depending on my mood, that type of music, and it sort of influences me. And it's this sound that's coming out of the car or the speaker. And to me, that's very powerful. It's not like somebody coming up and shaking your hand. This is sound that's coming into you that moves you in different ways. And that's how I feel not only about music, but just visually seeing a piece of art, or going to theater and, seeing a story that's been told, and it challenges you, and perhaps you're thinking, it challenges you emotionally. I think art is extremely powerful, and I agree with Matthew. I don't think that the arts get the due credit that it deserves.
And I honestly think that's for all of the disciplines that you celebrate. Because I can, walking through the halls when I'm going to the theater to sit in the juries, watching the, excited, bassoonist, practicing before they go in and present their piece, or the poems that someone has written, or looking at the pieces of ceramics and 2D art that are done. It's one of those things that you can see yourself in those hallways. So I think it's really important that that we not only celebrate the student, but that the teachers and the parents, and or just we'll call them grown-ups, because not all folks have traditional family structure, so we'll call them the grown-ups. But when these young artists have the support behind them, I think that's really important for us as a society, because if all you're being driven to do is get your SATs and your sort of academic A's, you're really sort of missing that empathy and that sort of compassion and uh, just connection, that human connection, by not having the arts. So for me, that's where the sort of personal aspect of seeing those students, who are nervous or quiet, and finding that outlet. So yeah.
The only other thing I'll add to that, and then I'll shut up because I know we only have 30 minutes or whatever. I think it's also important to acknowledge, you may see a piece of art, you may see a piece of theater, you may see a dance movement, but it's the conversation that happens after that piece of art that you've experienced. So art doesn't just stop at the end of that event. It continues. And I think that's important to recognize too, is, that it isn't just, a one and done kind of thing. Whatever it is, it can stay with you for days on end, because I've had that experience happen. And you can have some really good, healthy conversations with people about, the piece of art that you saw, the piece of music that you heard, or, like it or love it. I mean, whatever your opinion is. So I think that the healthy conversations that come out of experiencing any form of art is important too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's kind of like a cycle. Like, as an artist myself, there's a lot of times that I'll see a movie, or I'll, see another piece of artwork, or listen to a song that inspires me to go create something. And then I'll create that, and then, put that out in the world. And then, that could inspire someone else. And so I think it's, super important and awesome that Johnson County, values the arts and education, especially in the high schools. And then I think that goes back to the local government as well, that they are willing to, put in some extra funding for the arts. And it's really where it starts, is in the schools. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, and I have to commend, you, but I also want to, say, look, you can have a career in the arts. You are the example of that. So
yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. So what made you get involved in your position here?
Well, I started out in private galleries, and so I was doing a lot of art sales and that kind of thing, and it was a lot of just visual art and not so much like theater or dance or anything like that. It was very just visual arts. And then when I moved to Kansas City, which I've been here for almost 3 years now, I started teaching at the Johnson County Arts and Heritage Center, and that opened me up to a lot more like performing arts and literary arts and that kind of thing. So then that just, was all going around in my head, and then this position opened up for the Arts Council, and I had just recently started kind of advocating for mental health through my artwork. So I wanted to, do something more than just paint things. And so I really turned to more of advocacy, and that's how I got here.
Nice. That's really really inspiring, because I think for me, this idea of arts and health aren't too dissimilar. The number of fellow MFA students that we went to school with, who also had a degree in psychology, or sort of connecting in a broader sense, I think really is a really interesting aspect of this. So, because that high school student who sits there and says, well, why do you want to go to theater? I was like, well, I'm not sure I want to go to theater, but I really love helping people. And I think I do that by, being on stage, or the designs I do. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So kind of going back to education, Matthew, can you tell us about, I kind of already did, but is there anything else you want to say about your experience as a Shooting Stars judge? Anything that we haven't touched on?
I think for me, I just want to let anyone out there who might be listening or watching to connect and volunteer. I think even if you were if you had involvement when you were in high school, I think you're a secret designer. By all means, reach out, because I think we can all use and I think we can all benefit by having more folks involved with your shooting stars, because I think the folks who come out of that program and who are helped by that program, will only make our world better. So for me, that was, I think that's really key to what you guys do for us as a society.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back to the arts and education, I think it's also very important that we show high school students that there are careers in the art, and we show them actual people in our community, in Johnson County, Kansas, that are doing it and what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they got there. I just remember going to college. I went to a state school. I went to K-State, but I went through the art program. And the only thing that they really told me throughout the whole program was, oh, just go to grad school and then you'll probably end up teaching somewhere. It was like, what can I do after this? Just go to grad school, and that's not really the answer. So
no. Nowadays, when it's so expensive, I was lucky enough to teach a few years in Charleston, and I urged my students to go and live beyond their BA in theater, because spending 7 years of your education and accumulating all of that debt, only to find out that you don't want to be, the stage manager or the actor or the technician. Go out, explore, figure out what you want to do, then come back and concentrate on that. That's what I did.
Right.
So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have is for Brian. As our outgoing president, can you talk about what you are most proud of and or passionate of that the Arts Council has done in your time on the board and as president, while you've been here?
I mean, honestly, it's hard to say one thing, but in thinking about that, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is the strategic plan that we did, I believe, a year and a half, or gosh, time flies when you're in a pandemic. Whether it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think the strategic planning that staff and board did at that point in time really set the course for where you and Sarah are taking the organization now. And I think that excites me the most, because it's just two of you, it's one and a half of you doing that. But it's, the strategic plan set in precedent or in movement sort of the creative conversations, because we know that we needed to raise visibility for the Arts Council of Johnson County. The research that we got back was, yeah, people kind of know what it is, but they kind of don't know what it is. And I think things like this are going to sort of elevate the Arts Council and really show people what it is that, we do and how we serve the Johnson County community. The other part of the strategic planning is, we got very serious about this idea of diversifying our board, being, inclusive, diversive, equity, and making it accessible. And, and I see those things starting to happen now. We're working with vendors from brown and Black communities. We're authentically courting relationships from people who don't look like me, to engage them and have conversations with them about the arts and potentially get them involved with the advisory board or the board itself. programming. So I think the strategic planning that we did has really sort of laid the foundation for the future of the Arts Council over the next 3 to 5 years. And I see things like that starting to happen now. And that's what really gets me excited, because I think, I hope that that leads to more community support of the Arts Council of Johnson County in terms of volunteers, in terms of financial support, in terms of the understanding about, why the Arts Council is important in Johnson County to serve the artist. So yeah, I mean, I could continue to go on and on and on, but in my mind, I've been very, very lucky and privileged to work with the board that I have. I've been very privileged to work with you briefly and Sarah for the last 3 or 4 years. It's, I know you guys work your butts off, and it's showing. So I hope that we all start to reap the rewards of all the work that you guys are putting into it.
Yeah, thank you. I agree that strategic plan, especially in a pandemic, was super helpful. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started in March, and I think I went on spring break vacation, and the day after I got back, our building went into lockdown, and that was my first day of work. It was crazy, but yeah, having that plan and then just seeing what all has happened because of it, the diversity and the programming that we've been able to have and the partnerships that we've made regionally, not just in Johnson County, has been really exciting. So
yeah, and I'll say really quickly too, I think one thing that's really exciting to me is, looking ahead at 2021, knowing that the annual meeting is going to be revamped and sort of just a whole different look and feel to it. And the fact that we are diversifying, the revenue streams for the organization and saying, hey, we're planning this event, we're looking for corporate sponsors to come and help support this event, to stand behind and with the Arts Council, so that, the greater community can see, oh, there's this XYZ organization that believes in the Arts Council and is supporting the Arts Council. Maybe I should think about that too. So I'm really excited about next year for you guys. I really, really am.
me too. I'm very excited for the annual meeting, especially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to add one. Sorry, go on, Brian.
Oh, I was just going to say, we're very lucky to have Allison. I'm so glad that you chose us out of all the other places you could be. So thank you.
I am super fortunate to be here. So go ahead, Matthew.
Well, I was just going to say, in this pandemic, the amount of art that we have consumed in our isolation should show everybody who's watching this how important, the arts is. So, I mean, I would encourage anybody who's watching this to reach out to you. And make your life a little easier by volunteering, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We are always volunteers. Yep. Well, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me and for advocating for the Arts Council. We're very fortunate that you guys are part of our organization.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do, and Sarah.
Yeah. So yeah, have a great holidays, and we will see you guys soon.
Have a good New Year.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.